Hi everyone, Erica of Confident Parenting. I hope you're having a great day. We're about to be joined for a live with a special guest, so hopefully you have your kiddos down for a nap and can come and join us to learn some great things. Hopefully you've been enjoying our lives, and we have a lot more planned for you. In a few moments, we will be joined by Stephanie Lint. I should say Dr. Stephanie Lint. She is a mom and a board-certified doctor of physical therapy. She is also the owner and lead physical therapist at Play at Home PT, and she's going to be talking about gross motor skill development in your baby and toddler and things that you can do at home to encourage their development.
All right, so I already did my fabulous introduction of you, so we can just jump right in. Parents, if you're watching and you have questions about pediatric physical therapy or your baby or toddler's gross motor development, throw them in the chat. We'll see if Stephanie has time to get to them. But while we're waiting for more people to join, let's back up and start real simple. When we say gross motor development, what are we talking about for anyone that's just not sure? What is it? What does it mean? What does it encompass?
Yeah, so great question. So gross motor development basically means big body movements and big body skills. So things that involve a lot of muscles of the body. So when we're talking about babies, those are like the big things that we think about: rolling, sitting, moving in and out of different positions, crawling, pulling to stand, and walking. So like those are like the big body movements that we think about in the first year of life. And then later on, we're looking at jumping and walking up and down the stairs, things in those categories.
Okay, gotcha. Excellent. And why is it important?
So it's important because this is how you move. This is how you get around. This is how you explore the environment that you're in. So especially for little guys, movement is correlated with learning, because the more movement you have, the more experiences you have, and the more your brain is learning from all of those different experiences. So movement is so important for little guys.
Awesome. And am I right to say that fine motor skills, which come a bit later, are going to kind of be controlled by the gross motor skills? We kind of have to have one before we can do the other?
Yeah, so everything builds upon the other. So like, for example, tummy time in little ones is so important for many things, but a lot of the strength that babies get in their upper body from tummy time then helps them learn how to grasp toys and learn how to reach for toys. So those like type of smaller body movements, or the fine motor movements, build off of those things.
Got it. Okay. So now tell us a little bit about what you and your crew do and how you can help families with this.
Sure. So Play at Home Physical Therapy provides physical and occupational therapy for kids from birth to 5 years throughout the greater Philadelphia area. And so our physical therapists do, just what you're just talking about. So we help little ones meet their motor milestones if kids happen to be delayed, but also we work on so many other things. So we work a lot with babies with torticollis or a tight neck. We work a lot with babies with flattening of the head. So we help try to reshape through positioning and play so that they can avoid a helmet. We also see children who maybe have some neurological conditions, such as cerebral palsy, babies who are premature, maybe spent some time in the NICU. So that's a lot of what our PTs do. Our OTs do so much. So OTs have so many skills. So they work on fine motor skills in little guys. So generally for babies, PT usually starts, and then if we're noticing maybe, hey, they're really only using one hand, or they're really not like holding on to toys or passing toys between their hands. They're not really taking weight through their arms in different positions. That's a good time to add in OT to help with those fine motor skill development so that they don't have issues with handwriting, say later on when they get to school. They also can help with vision. And again, if we're thinking about it functionally, babies looking around their environment and being able to focus on things in their environment. And this can then help kids not have trouble with reading maybe later on because they're able to scan the page and process that information. Our OTs also work a lot with picky eating and feeding. And I personally have experience. I have two very picky eaters in my house, and one of our OTs worked with my younger daughter who used to eat everything, and now, she only ate mac and cheese after she became a toddler. And so by the time we finished with occupational therapy, she was eating broccoli, which I thought would never happen. So they're also extremely helpful with getting your kid to eat and maybe expand their palate a little bit more, which is very important, as we all know, for so many things in development.
For sure. Don't our kiddos always like to test us on the support that we offer to families, right?
I forgot, probably one of our more popular reasons that kids need OT is for sensory processing. So some kids have trouble there's, our senses: sight, touch, smell, sound. And some children have a little bit more trouble processing all of the information that comes in through the environment. And some of these kids just have sensory processing disorders. Some kids may have another condition that might be causing the sensory processing issues. But a lot of our OTs are highly skilled with helping with sensory processing as well. And that's a big request that we get to.
Got it. Awesome. And one great thing about you guys is that you come, it's obviously called Play at Home because you come to families' homes. So even during these tough times when it's hard to get out, you can get support in all of these areas. And of course, we help families with sleep and potty training. And I can certainly say that sometimes kids are struggling in those areas because they do need support in either physical or occupational therapy type way. If we aren't comfortable, if we can't, hold our bodies in a certain position, all those things can be a lot harder than they need to be. So since we are stuck at home, what are things that parents can do with their babies and or with their toddlers to encourage and support gross motor development? It's a lot harder to get a lot of movement right now if we're stuck at home.
No, I know. So this is a great question. And so for babies, I think the biggest thing that parents can do to help is just let their babies play on the floor. It's a really simple response, but all development happens on the floor. So you can spread a big blanket out or just put your baby right on the floor. And they are able then to kind of discover how they can move their body, how they can move their arms and their legs. And they're not really restricted in any way. So this is how they really learn what their body is capable of. For our older guys, so just kind of letting them make a mess and maybe walking around or navigating the mess on the floor. So once babies learn how to walk, then they really have to learn how to refine their balance and their coordination. And so a lot of times I'll just recommend to families, your kid's already making a mess anyway, most likely. So just let them be and see if you can encourage them to walk around the toys on the floor, maybe stepping over toys, stepping over books. And you can always do pillow obstacle courses, or couch cushion obstacle courses, just bringing everything down onto the floor and letting your kid walk over, maybe bounce on the couch cushions and see if they can get a little prize at the end, maybe a sticker or an M&M. And that could be really fun for them. They won't even realize that they're like doing all this great work as well for their gross motor skills. And I feel like I could talk so much more about like different activities to help with acquiring gross motor skills. But just so happens I'm actually teaching a class this weekend called Achieving Milestones. And that is offered through Mainline Family Education, where I give a whole slew of activities, developmental activities, to help babies from 3 months to 9 months. So basically pre-crawlers, learn how to roll, sit, crawl, all of that good stuff to keep them on time. But that's a whole hour's worth of content, which we don't have today.
Awesome. So if families are interested in that class, it's this Saturday. Just remind us again
this Saturday at 10 a.m. And
it's virtual.
And it's virtual, yes. So it's through Mainline Family Education. So it's mlfed.com, and you can register on that website.
Got it. And if families can't come this Saturday at 10, do you have an option for that?
So for Achieving Milestones, we offer that every other month. And then there's also a tummy time course that is actually pre-recorded. So if you are looking for some tummy time support, that's also offered live every other month. But if you're just wanting to learn things right now, there's a pre-recorded version of that you can purchase and then view at your own time and availability, which can be very hard when you have a little one.
That's what I was thinking of. Awesome. I wanted to make sure we listed that in there. It's hard to get clever with tummy time and make it interesting and fun and keep the novelty there. So I think that class would be helpful for everybody. So I believe that your upcoming class is in our stories, if anybody wants to check that out, or like you said, at mlfed.com, Mainline Family Education. We do have a question in the comments. Do you have time for that?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
So this question is, do you have any tips or tricks for encouragement of lifting the head at 3 months during tummy time? So yes, I do. So if your little one's having trouble with tummy time at 3 months, a great way to help them out is to elevate them a little bit rather than doing it just flat on the floor. So putting them maybe like on your chest still, or like tummy to tummy with you. You can place them over a bobby pillow as well, just to try to bring them up a little bit so they don't have to work quite as hard to lift their head. And another big thing that I do is I always provide support at the elbows. So you want to make sure that you're showing your baby that they have to keep their elbows down to help lift up their head and chest. A lot of babies like to airplane, as I say, just kind of like lift the arms and just kind of flop around there for a little bit. And if they just are taught like, hey, your elbows actually go here, and they can help lift you up, then they tend to tolerate a lot better, and they don't have to work quite as hard then to lift their head if they have the support from their arms to prop up on.
Okay, great. And I know we used to roll up like receiving blankets or towels or something. Like, I guess if the bobby's too high, you can kind of make a bolster or something smaller.
Yeah. So or if you just don't have a bobby, that's just like an example. But rolling up towels, blankets to make a little roll there and putting them over is also a great option to elevate them a little bit.
And how long are we, Mom says thank you, how long are we talking about? What about the baby who can't tolerate that for very long, because it is really taxing? Like, how long is good enough, or how often, if it's not about how long?
So in my experience, just trying frequent bursts is best. And the length of time, it's really more like quality, I think, over quantity, while your baby is still getting used to being on their tummy during playtime. So even if it's for 30 seconds, but they're happy, that's still good as long as they're participating. It's a fine line, because you don't want to force your baby to be on their tummy longer than they're comfortable with, because when they learn to roll, especially off their tummy, we want them to be able to choose playing on their tummy as like a play position that they enjoy. Because if they learn how to roll off, then they're off. So again, like building up, and sometimes like I'll say like, see if you can add a minute here and there, even after a diaper change, like doing like a tummy time minute on their changing table, like just to see if you can increase the time just a little bit day by day. But over time, it does build up, and you do get long stretches of tummy time. They just have to have the foundations first and be happy during tummy time. It should not be torture time.
Yeah, and I think it's really helpful for parents to know it does not have to be long. We're trying to get it in and get it in frequently, but they don't have to tolerate it for 15 minutes at a stretch, because their heads are, disproportionate to their body. So it's a lot of work. For sure. Okay, so two things that often come up with the sleep families that I'm working with. One is we have big dogs or toddlers or whatever. I can never figure out how to put my baby on the floor because I'm always trying to protect them. It doesn't seem safe. So what would you say to the parent that says that? Do you have cool tricks for that?
Yeah, so I was also one of those people with our dog who like barks at everything that walks by the house as well. So we used our pack and play as like a safe space. So a pack and play, well, let me backtrack. So in the therapy world, we have this umbrella term called like a container. So that kind of includes a bouncer, a swing, a jumper, a walker, even a car seat and a stroller. So they're anything that really restricts contains your baby, but also they can restrict free movement. But the pack and play is not considered a container because they're not strapped in and they can move around in there however they want. Basically, like being in the crib is the same thing. A crib is not a container. So if you have a pack and play, or if you're just hanging out in their room, you can put them in their crib too. And seeing if you can get some nice playtime, developmental tummy time in there as well, so that you don't have to worry about the safety factor of toddlers or animals in the house. I was right there when my younger daughter was born.
It's tough. It's hard to figure out sometimes. It's hard to make everybody happy, right? And then finally, can you speak a little bit to just swaddling and gross motor development? So obviously when a family is speaking to me and their baby is young enough to still have the startle reflex, we're trying to contain that, swaddle them nice and tight until that starts to become integrated and it doesn't disrupt sleep anymore. But that means that some babies, they're sleeping frequently and for long periods, so they're swaddled a good portion of their day and their night. How would, looking at it through your filter and with your goals, how do we balance the two things? And you weren't expecting that question, so.
No, I am a huge proponent of swaddling, especially like prior to starting play at home, I was working in the NICU a lot. So, I mean, I understand the benefits of the swaddle, the containment, the coziness of it. So I'm a huge proponent of swaddling when your baby is little. And of course, like sleep is so important for everybody. So I think it's just really important, kind of going back to what I said about phone battery is low. I'm just going to plug it in for a second.
That's okay.
That happened quickly.
We'll take a little intermission to plug in.
Here we go. Okay, so, all right, here we go. Now we're plugged in. All good. So, I think just having a lot of time to play on the floor, again, is really important, and letting your baby move their body freely. I definitely wouldn't recommend not swaddling just because of gross motor development. Sorry, can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
You're good.
I definitely wouldn't, again, of course, swaddle for sleep and everything like that, because it's so important to let your baby get their good sleep so they can play when they're awake. But just, I think, open free time and, being held and snuggled is still really important too. So I don't want parents to think that they can't snuggle and hold their, if we're talking about like letting your baby play on the floor. Everything's a fine balance. It's still important to
like everything
too.
We just want to balance it out and just make sure you have some unswaddled time where they can move around and get stronger.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Anything else you wanted to share with our families today before we let you go?
Well, just thank you for joining us today for our nap Instagram live. We've got naps going on in our house as well.
Good.
And if you are concerned about your baby's gross motor development or torticollis, or if you have some concerns about sensory processing, picky eating, fine motor skills, you can always reach out to us for physical or occupational therapy. We would love to help you out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining despite all the challenges today.
I know. Battery and oh gosh.
It's always something, right? I will let you get back to your girls. I hope they feel better soon. And we will have you back again to share more helpful tips. And thanks to everybody that tuned in and shared some questions.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Erica.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.